Right, so yesterday I shot my first wedding with my Sony a7RIII, which I got last week. Normally I'd be using this Nikon D750, and I just thought I'd share with you my views of this using this camera professionally. So yesterday I was shooting with a 28mm f2 for I'd say about 80% of the day. Unusual focal length. I'm used to shooting a 35mm on my Nikon body. So that was kind of a little bit of getting used to. I found that I had to get much closer, but I enjoyed being able to include more of the story in the shot at 28mm. Then there was the 85mm f1.8 Sony lens, which is great, very sharp, light, small and light. I'm trying to reduce the size of my setup because I've obviously got a smaller body here. So normally I'd be using 1.4 lenses, which are big and bulky. So I'm trying to move away from that now. Having said that, I do have a 35mm 1.4 Sony Zeiss lens, which I try to, normally I'd be using this all day long, but I just thought I'd give it a break and try something different. So I used this for about 5% of the wedding yesterday. So my thoughts on using the a7R3. Do I like it? Yes and no. So start off with the things that piss me off about this camera. So I've written a little list here. The first thing is the startup time. So this being a mirrorless camera, there is a tiny bit of lag. Here we go. So I'll turn it on now. And it's ready to shoot now. So what's that? Roughly a second. So it's not a great deal, but when you're used to shooting a DSLR that basically turns on and you're ready to shoot straight away, those seconds do add up, and it ended up annoying me a little bit. But I'm sure that I will learn to live with that and just anticipate the moment a bit better and turn it on earlier in the day. Also, as I was worried about the battery life, I found myself turning off the camera quite a lot just to preserve some juice and not waste the battery life on this monitor. I've got to test that out a bit. I don't know if it's better to leave it on for more of the time rather than turning it on and off. But again, with the DSLR, obviously it's not that much of an issue. If you leave it on all day, it's not going to run the battery down so much. On the note of the battery, so this is a plus point. I don't know if you can see it here, but no, you won't be able to see that, but it says 33%. So that's after an 8-hour wedding. And remember that we all thought mirrorless cameras had crap battery life. Well, this camera, the Sony A9 and the forthcoming Sony a7RIII will be using a new battery, which is awesome. It's just as good, if not better, than my D750s. I could probably get I don't know, one battery to last me about 80% of a wedding on a D750. Now I can get 100% of the wedding and still have some left over, so that's incredible. Okay, another thing that I didn't like was a tiny but noticeable delay when I changed settings. So on the a7R3, when I was adjusting the aperture, I shoot in aperture priority, I noticed that there's a split-second display before it registers on the screen that your aperture has changed. It depends on what lens. I found that the 35mm Zeiss, this one had the most noticeable lag. So again, it's a split second, but it is annoying. And also, this you change aperture by twisting the ring, and there's no clicky sensation. Well, actually, there is. I didn't feel it yesterday, but there's a tiny little delay when you do it, so you're not sure if it's actually changed. Again, I'll get used to that. All right, so the biggest gripe that I have about this camera and Sony cameras in general is that the ergonomics are absolutely shit, especially if you're used to using a DSLR. Doesn't matter what brand of DSLR you use, but they have got it right. I don't know why Sony just doesn't copy them, because it's just so simple. You just need a molded, comfortable grip and all your dials and buttons in the right places. Sony, don't know what you're playing at. The cameras are pretty ugly. There's writing all over all the buttons. It's just a mess at the back. And then the ergonomics, the grip is decent on this camera. It's getting better on the A7 series. The A9 is also good. A7RIII will also be good, but there's still a lot of room for improvement, in my opinion. Just a small example, the exposure compensation dial and this dial here are recessed into the body, so your thumb doesn't get to them easily. So, for example, on the D750, it's right there where you want it. On the a7R3, this is going to be hard to show you, but you have to bend your thumb in to get to it, which is kind of annoying. I'll get used to that though. But my biggest gripe on the ergonomics is this little sucker here, which is the AF point selector joystick. It's tiny. It's ridiculous. Like everyone uses that, right? Every day, everyone uses that a lot. Why not make it bigger? If you're coming from a Nikon DSLR, this is the whole reason I got into Nikon in the first place, because of the ergonomics of the body. This joypad here is just really easy to use. It feels nice to touch. That's what you use to select your AF points. On the Canon, you've got that rolling wheel at the back, which I don't particularly like, but obviously a lot of people do. And on this freaking Nikon, you got this tiny thing here, little tiny knob, that's what she said. And this thing here, which you could use to select the focus point, you can't. I don't know why. Hopefully they'll change that in a firmware update, but I don't think they will. So yeah, I'm going to have to get used to this, or maybe modify it with some stuff called Subaru. I heard that you can just, anyway, Google Subaru. That's the most annoying thing about this camera. Okay, so I'm going to stop bitching about it. Let's say something that I loved about the camera. The colors are amazing. I want to say they're better than the Nikon, but I haven't edited them yet. But just from the JPEG preview on the back of the camera, they are so vibrant. The white balance is spot on, way better than the Nikons that I've used in the past. And yeah, if I was shooting JPEG, put it this way, I'd be happy delivering a lot of these files to the client as they are. Just everything was perfect. Well, not everything, but it was very good. It's the first time that I've shot a Sony body. Obviously, the Nikons and some other cameras have Sony sensors in them, so there shouldn't be that much difference, but there is. Yeah, so that was a great thing that surprised me about the Sony. All right, what else didn't I like? Small thing about the ergonomics again. This flip-out screen, it's really hard to get to. Like, there's nothing that sticks out here. You have to really dig your nail under to get it out, and then you have to pull it back here. Compare that to the Nikon, where there's a little, what would you call it, a ledge there for you to pull it out. Like, you can just flip it back in. It's really easy. This is such a well-designed camera and such a bargain at the moment. I don't know what price it is in your country, but it's around, I don't know, $1.5 grand in America, which is amazing value for money. Anyway, we're not talking about that camera. We're talking about how crap the ergonomics are on these A7 series Sony bodies. Again, I'll probably get used to that, but for something that I want to be using all the time, it's just a pain in the ass to use. All right. Something else that I liked about the camera. All right, so you can cull your images in the camera to an extent. So what I mean by that is you can assign a custom button. So I've got this C3 button here to adding a star to an image. So yesterday I had some downtime while I was eating, and I was reviewing my images, and I thought, hey, I may as well cull them. So I would go through each image, adding a star to the ones that I want to keep, scrolling on for the ones that I don't want to keep. And by the end of the wedding, actually, I managed to select my keepers for the whole wedding. Obviously, I was choosing them based on this LCD screen, which I don't recommend you do. It's a bit of a lazy way of doing it. It's not like I'm going to delete the other images, but obviously, if you're taking group shots and there's people that don't have their eyes open, you're not going to be able to tell on the back here. So it's a bit of a shortcut. Anyway, I added 1 stars to them all. Something that annoys me about Lightroom is that you can't import just the rated photos, which I think is a bit stupid, but I imported all of them last night, and all I have to do now is sort by 1 star, and I'll have all the selections that I made yesterday. I'll just give them a once over, just to check that, people have their eyes open or whatever. But I've done a lot of the legwork for the culling, which I think is going to be a massive time saver for me. I understand you can do star selection, star ratings on the Nikon D5, probably on the D500 as well, so any of those new bodies, maybe on the Canons, I'm not sure. But it's just very well implemented in this camera, and it works really well. And there's a little bonus. Don't know if you can see this, but if I scroll the front wheel, then it will just show, you can see it pop up in the middle there, it says 1 star rating. It will just show those images that I've culled, that I've given a 1 star rating. And then if I roll this at the back, it will show all of the images. While we're on that topic, so I push play, zoom out a bit. So this screen where you can see them all, scrolling through this is painfully slow. Whoops, I'm not going to be able to do it because the IAF sensor. There you go. It's so slow. That's as fast as I can go. No, I'm a bit quicker. I can roll that. But yeah, it's not responsive. Obviously, they're massive files, 41.3 megapixel or something, way too big, than much bigger than I'd normally need. On that topic, something cool about this camera is that you can assign things to custom buttons. I know you can do this on DSLRs, but it just seems to be much snappier on this camera. So I've assigned a custom button to an APS-C crop, which basically means this is a full frame 35mm, so I can pushing this button gives a cropped field of view to the image. So it's basically cropping your image in camera, giving you a little bit more length. So if I was shooting this 28 and then I crop, I can't do the maths, but it would have given me around 40-ish, maybe, millimeter field of view. Basically, it kind of gives you a digital zoom. But because there's so many megapixels, it's not actually degrading the quality all that much, and you can still deliver a nice big image to the client. You can actually set other cameras up to do that, but there's obviously not as many megapixels on this camera, so you're going to be degrading a lot when you crop into the image like that. All right, so that's my likes and dislikes about this camera thus far. One small thing, I've got this. I decided to shoot with this on yesterday, which is a thumb grip, just to give you one extra finger's room if you've got big hands like me. And it was fine. Like, I bought this as well when I was in America. Can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't cheap, maybe $200. But I've only got one battery for the camera, so I didn't bother using it yesterday. This is actually really light, and it makes the camera feel great. But I just thought I'd try this thing, and it's fine. So I might end up just rolling with this in the future. And yeah, one last thing before I forget, cool feature. You can plug it in, I don't have it here, but a little battery pack, you know, the ones that you use to charge your mobile phone up into there and just give it a bit more juice. I didn't do that yesterday because the batteries were fine, but I guess when you're traveling, that'll be a nice way to charge up your camera. And you can do it off a USB drive, or USB as well, so into your laptop. Okay, great. Sorry I rambled a bit, but I was really excited to tell you about this camera. A lot of things that I liked are reflected in my friend Daniel Stark's review, which I'll link to at the bottom of this page. And I just thought I'd expand a little bit on the things that he didn't like. One more thing before I go, the menu system is ridiculously crap. It's like about 30 pages long, confuses the hell out of you. The only good thing is that you can set up a My Menu in there just like you can on the DSLRs, which will preserve your sanity. All right, hope you like that. Leave a comment below if you use the camera, or if you want the camera, or if you just think that I talk too fast. Cheers.